welcome to today's episode of the Balanced Approach podcast. I'm your host, Louis Padian. I hope that you're doing well and are enjoying the podcast and the topics we've covered so far. These podcasts are released every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, so be sure to subscribe wherever you are listening to be kept up to date.
So today we're going to be discussing something that I often discuss with clients, something that I often have to remind them of because I think it's a really important consideration and a really nice way to phrase or think about self-compassion. Self-compassion often gets sort of disregarded as being this soft, this woo-woo sort of subject, and as a man I find it really something that I'm really passionate about as a coach, especially that compassion can be really kind and gentle, but it also can be quite firm. But the way that I phrase it is looking after all three versions of you, which we're going to go through today, and what that actually means and how using this mentality can actually make it really easy, or a lot easier, to make decisions around what's going to sit best with you. So, as I've said, there's the different three versions of you. So we're talking about past you, present you, and future you. I can't remember I heard this, but it was quite a few years ago. And I thought it was a really nice way to phrase compassion, because compassion is usually sort of phrased as mindfulness, self-kindness, and common humanity, which means that we're all human, kindness at the heart of everything, but also being mindful, being responsive rather than reactive, and being aware of our thoughts, actions, behaviours around how they make you feel and others feel. But often it can be really difficult to feel that you're being compassionate yourself, and a lot of my clients actually have found it really difficult to actually be compassionate or find ways to be compassionate themselves. So it's something that we spend a lot of time working on, and that might not even be on my client's radar when they turn up. Often it might be around weight loss, but having a compassion sort of focus throughout it and almost at the core of everything we do makes everything a lot more sustainable, makes everything a lot more enjoyable, and it can really transform the way that you not only lose weight but behave day to day, think and feel about yourself and others, and behave. So it's a really powerful tool, and if you don't feel it's for you, I definitely recommend listening in, because it's such an empowering and powerful tool that can really transform people's weight loss journey, health journey, and just in general quality of life. So the first part of this, we're looking at past you. We're talking about making peace with the past, and there's two different parts to this. It's actually looking at past you without judgment, and we were talking about the curiosity element. That childlike curiosity is a phrase I use a lot with clients. When you are a child, or when you deal with children, they're usually just very curious. Nothing's good or bad, it just is, and they'll be like, oh, I wonder what that is. They might, if you give them a fruit or something like that, they'll just play with their hands, they might put it on their lips, they might smell it, and they're curious about it. And the same with actions and behaviours. They are sort of learning as they go, and they're just curious about things. And when we're looking at past you, it's almost being curious without judgment. We don't want you feeling like, I was stupid, I was silly, I used to be X, Y, Z. Actually, we want to focus on you being really kind in there and go, you know what, that person there was doing the best that they could, and they might not know as much as I do now, but the reason that I am here now is through their experiences and the way that they behaved and everything they've learned along the way. And when we talk about making decisions, it's almost envisaging that, yes, we don't want to judge our past person, but considering how that person would have felt about you being where you are now and what decision they feel align best with them. So if you're not too sure what to do, think about, well, past me, looking at the situation and seeing how far I've come, what would they want me to do, or what would align best with them, or what would sit best with them. So we don't want to beat them up. We don't want to, and one of the phrases that I love is that you can't pick yourself up if you're busy beating yourself down. And I think that's a really powerful image, that whilst we are striving to be better, not hating ourselves, beating up on ourselves in the past decisions that we made. Self-deprecation is a part of this, and yes, there might be an element of self-deprecation, but we don't want it to be really serious and hurtful. We just want you to be kind of the person that you were, as you would to be to anyone else. So it can be a really good way to forgive yourself for past mistakes, how you behaved, put the past in the past, not beating yourself up about things that you can't change. And this is something that links to control the controllables and influence what you can, let go of the rest and accept the rest. So I think it's a really powerful version of you looking back into the past and saying, right, I did everything I could back then, did the best I could in the situation that I was in with the tools that I had available, forgave myself for all things that had happened and accepted them. I can move on and just let the past be the past. So there was a really interesting study that came across from this, which was a 2019 study, found that forgiveness was associated with improved mental and physical health outcomes. So a part of that is forgiving yourself, and we want you to feel empowered. We don't want you living in the past. We don't want you beating yourself up for things that you can't change or can't control, and actually accepting what happened. And with regards to, if we're looking at your weight loss journey, potentially diets that you went on in the past, where you behaved, the fact that you might have lost weight and put it back on, that's all led you to where you are now. And without all those learnings, those potential mistakes and ways that you behave, you wouldn't be where you are now with the experience that you have. So understanding that's all part of the journey, and being compassionate to the past version of you who were just doing the best. So nurturing the present you, and this is considering what you value right now. Especially this time of year, it can be a really big pull of being in a situation and being around all these tasty foods, having a bit of alcohol, maybe not going out for that run, enjoying the moment. And you've got those opposing views of being present in the moment and enjoying the moment and making the most out of it, but also acting in line with what you want to achieve. If you want to essentially lose weight or get fitter, those can be opposing and sort of blocking heads, and this process can really help you align with and figure out what's the best decision for you. So understanding that you can be fully present in the moment, being kind to who you are now. So this is where we have the compassionate element comes through, of not judging yourself. So judging yourself on you doing the best that you can, again, in the situation that you're in with the tools you have available. So if you're tired today, you've not gone out for your run, the compassionate thing could be to go, right, you know what, we're going to have an early night, potentially we'll get it done tomorrow, or you might feel better after a 10-minute walk or whatever, or take self-decision and see how you feel. And they're all come in a position of kindness. What we don't want to do is sitting down going, well, you said you wanted to achieve this, do that, you're not doing them, therefore you get into that negative spiral, that whirlpool where it just drags you down, and you start beating yourself up, and that's when you have that internal monologue of judgment. We want to try and remove that and just, again, curious. So why might I be feeling like this? Why might I not want to grab my jib touch from over, and why might not I fancy a dinner that I've prepared that is really nutritious and actually want to take away? And having a bit of a step back, being aware of your thoughts, being aware of your feelings and emotions, can help you decide on what's going to be the best thing moving forward. So we've got your past you, got your current you, so having a conversation between the three can be a really good part, and we'll move to the future one in a second. But there was a really good study in 2021, which was a meta-analysis where they observed common trends across multiple studies. So it allows us to look at really big populations. And they found that self-compassion and various aspects of well-being were really, really highly associated with more resilience, life satisfaction, and happiness in general. So self-compassion, again, being at the core of everything we do. And people might think it's wishy-washy, but like I said, kindness doesn't have to be or sort of spas and hot baths and bath bombs and candles. It can be you taking yourself out for a walk, you know you feel better for it. It could be you giving yourself permission to rest rather than beating yourself up for having a night off. It can take many different forms, and it's very situational dependent. So again, taking that into context and not beating yourself up about the things you're not doing or that you should be doing. Being curious around the situation and going, right, so why might I feel like this? Why might this have happened? And going, right, considering all versions of me, which will cover the future one in a second, what would be the best thing moving forward? So when we look at the future you, this is where we look at where you'd like to be, your future goals and aspirations, and almost like your values are current, but your goals are future, and your experiences the past. So taking those three elements together allows you to figure out what your decision will be, but what plan of action do you have, or what steps you're going to take to move you close to where you want to be and what you aspire to be, and are your actions and behaviours aligning with that? And it might seem that there's probably a lot more thought going into this than actually just a simple yes or no answer, but it's often not very simple. There's a lot of things to consider, and actually one of the things that I wanted to do years ago was try and sort of bring a program out called the middle ground method, because it often success sort of exists in the middle ground. It's not yes or no, black or white. Actually, it's a huge portion of grey where there's some really successful decisions, and that's probably where success lies for a lot of people, that they're not all out every day. They're not on the wagon, off the wagon. Actually, they're just doing best that they can most of the time, and they're trying their best to act in line with their goals and values, and that will take them so much further with where they want to be than either being super strict or super lenient on themselves. And finding that, we need to find that balance really. So a 2021 study published found that goal setting was associated with increased motivation, performance and job satisfaction. We know goal settings associated with so many things. You can't be successful if you don't know where you're going, how you're going to get there, or what you're aiming for. So ensuring that your actions and behaviours align with that is really important, because that'll sit better with you in regards to regret or anything like that. You'll have less regret. You'll have more motivation to take action. So hopefully now we can see how the three versions of you. So we've got your experience in the past and your what actually happened. We've got your values that you currently have and your goals. And that's what we say, acting in line with your values and goals, using your experience can be a really good way to make decisions. So for example, if you're going to go out tonight, you don't know whether to drink or not, or you don't know what to have for dinner, or you're feeling really tired, you don't know where to go to the gym, what would align best with my values and goals? So I value rest, I value moderation. I've looking at the past few days, potentially you might have trained a lot, you might not have trained at all, and that might influence your decision. But what's the most compassionate thing that you can do in the situation? Maybe you need an arm around the shoulder, maybe you need to speak to someone, maybe catch up with a friend, have a night off, night in together. Maybe you need to take yourself out and go, right, actually I'll probably feel better for get a bit more movement in. And this is where the looking after the three versions of you, the past you, current you, and future you, can be a really powerful tool. So behaving in a way that aligns with your values and goals, reflecting on what you've learned in the past, not judging yourself for it, but understanding that you're doing the best that you can in the situation you're in with the tools you have available. Looking at current you, what your current values are, looking at what you want to be in the future, your values and goals and where they align, and taking in regard to your situation and being more curious rather than judgmental allows you to make a more balanced decision, and hopefully will take you where you want to be a lot quicker in a lot more enjoyable fashion, allow you to stay there long term as well.
So there you have it. Thank you very much for listening to today's episode of the Balanced Approach podcast. If you have any questions, queries, or would like to reach out to me, please do. I am at Louis Padian Nutrition, which is at LOUISPADIAN Nutrition on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and all other social media platforms. If you're looking for support in achieving your goals and living a healthier, happier, and more balanced life in the process, click the link below and inquire about working with me. Remember to subscribe to the Balanced Approach podcast wherever you're listening for more insightful episodes, and I look forward to speaking to you soon.